All right, welcome, Unsecurity Podcast listeners. Welcome to episode 156. The date is November 19th, 2021. Joining me is my good friend, as usual, Brad and I. Good morning, afternoon, whatever, Brad.
Yeah, I don't know what day or time it is at this point. So, yes, good
Yeah,
day,
good.
Evan.
Yes, good. And also joining us, I'm really excited about this. One of the people I respect the most in this industry, because one, she's been in this industry for a super long time. So she remembers some of the things, the fundamental basic things that we established many years ago. Plus, she's like super humble. So I want to welcome Lori Blair from FRSecure. Welcome, Lori.
Hi, thanks, guys. Great, glad to be here with you today.
Yeah.
Looking forward to it, and I'll help you keep Brad awake here.
Brad, are you having trouble staying awake?
Oh, we lost you.
Yeah, we didn't hear your audio there. But I'm assuming you are having a little trouble staying awake. Okay. Well, next week is Thanksgiving, so that'll be nice. I know that on the security studio side, we have some people. Actually, Ryan is taking the entire week off. That's good. He needs that for his mental health. Um,
Yeah.
I don't really
How
take
is
time
he?
off.
I have not seen Ryan forever.
You haven't seen him
It
forever?
seems like I haven't seen him forever. Yeah. Chatted with him on the CISSP mentorship a little bit, but gosh, it's been a long time.
Yeah, he's doing pretty well. We're busy, very busy, which that's good.
Good
Yeah.
problem to have.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, and I'm one of those guys where everybody's different, right? You can't really judge somebody by. You can't put everybody in the same bucket, right? Some people, like for me, work is therapy. It's not draining to me. It doesn't. It doesn't. It's if anything, it's energizing. Whereas other people, they need to take breaks, more often. And I do need to take breaks too, but I think less than others maybe. But that's not better or worse either. It's just the way people are built.
Everybody has
You
their own
know what?
balance.
Yep. One of my measurements actually for kind of if you're happy or you're doing well in your job is you're not getting that angst feeling Sunday afternoon going into Sunday night. Like oh, work's tomorrow. We got to do it again, and I really like that. That's gone. That's awesome.
I love
Yep.
that.
Yeah, I would say there's maybe one or two times that I've felt that at FRSecure, and it wasn't like, oh God, it was, oh my God, this week, looking at my calendar going, holy crap, I'm going to be busy.
Right.
It wasn't like, I don't want to go in. It was more like, oh, I know what's
Yeah.
coming.
One of the
Yeah.
things I've been doing recently is on Sundays, I'll get ready for my week, and I'll look at the calendar, and anything that hasn't been already scheduled, I just fill in with, and I call it focus time or call it, whatever. But I book it off, so then I figure if you haven't scheduled with me already, you're out. Because one of the things I think that it does add stress is when you get those last minute meetings, like a meeting pops on your calendar tomorrow, and you're like, well, what the hell?
Yeah. I tried doing that, but sales didn't like it. I got yelled like, we can't get any time on your calendar. Like, oh,
That's
to
hard.
do.
Plan ahead. Well, and that's like this, getting ready for this podcast, right? The marketing team, I think Nick was asking yesterday, trying to rearrange scheduling, and asked if we had scheduled Lori yet. And I'm like, I thought that was what you do. I don't, I, okay. I don't mind
Right.
doing it if I was supposed to, but, I don't think we were clear on that. And,
Yeah.
and so we moved this back an hour, which was good because that was one of those hours where I had actually blocked off as hadn't been scheduled yet.
Nice. That worked.
All right, so let's talk about some security stuff. We have the topic today is, as a chief information security officer, there's lots and lots of advice on how to be a chief information security officer. There's lots and lots of advice on who you should establish relationships with, how you should do your job, all those things. So this is a really good panel of three people who have, I think quite a bit of experience, and not just in one organization either, in many, to talk about specifically a CISO should build a relationship with who?
First problem with that is building a relationship implies you're working with other people. And I don't like working with other people.
right?
No, I'm just kidding.
If the organization was all dogs, we'd kick ass.
There you go. No, I mean, honestly, it has to start at the top,
Yeah.
right? Because if you don't get the highest level buy-in, you're not going to be successful.
Yeah, agreed.
Yep.
So what are some tips? So, I agree with that. The CEO, or the board even. I mean, that's when you think about who's ultimately responsible for information security in an organization, it's the top, right? It's not the CISO.
Yep.
And how do you do that? You speak their language, right? If you go in there with all of our acronyms and technical jargon, you're going to lose them immediately.
Yep.
Yeah, agreed.
And not too much fear factor either, because they're just going to look at it as FUD. So you really have to kind of have your
We're so over that.
things together. Yeah, I know.
We so oversold fear. It's crazy. Well, and I think, and we already talked a little bit about it. We just assuming that you know what their language is. Now, I don't know if you've ever Googled. If you just Google this job description CEO and see what you get, you'll
It's
find
a paradigm shift.
Right. All over.
exactly. You'll find that there is no one way. There is no one mentality for a CEO. So that means, because I think it's dangerous if you're a CISO and you're just going to assume that the CEO is motivated by whatever. That's dangerous.
Yeah. Well, and I don't know about you guys, but personally, I try to make a personal connection versus just a business connection with them, right? Because working on that back and forth, you do learn what motivates them, how to speak to them, how they talk, and I think that makes it easier to communicate.
Yep. Speak their language in really the terms in I want to say order, so to speak, that they want to hear it, right? Do they want to hear the risk? Do they want to hear the money? Do they want to hear, what are you coming at me with? So you have to have that message ready without the fear and I need all your pocketbook.
Yeah, that's great advice. And one of the things I've said to other, CISOs or, new CISOs starting out is see if you can't take the CEO out for lunch. Go out and have lunch. Get out of the office and, ask about their hobbies, ask about, kids, ask about family, get to know them on a personal level, because then you'll become friends, right? You build that trust with them. And when you give advice, they'll listen, hopefully. But you also learn what they're actually motivated by. I know some like I'm a CEO who's 100% motivated by mission. So if you come at me telling me how we can make more money, or, it's kind of going to fall on deaf ears. So some CEOs are motivated by mission. Some CEOs are motivated by money. Some CEOs are motivated by ego. Some CEOs may not even know what the hell they're motivated by.
Right.
You got to figure that out.
Yeah.
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 Good point.
I mean, and that builds on what Lori just said. When you mentioned it about what order, I immediately thought back to, presenting something to the CIO for the first time. And I got like 3 pages in, he's like, that's what I want to see. I'm like, oh, okay. And
Right.
so, take that to heart, right? Listen to them
Yep.
and present it like with you, Evan. Yeah, it would be like, hey, here's this new service and here's how it helps the mission.
Yep.
Because if I come to you, like you said, and say, hey, I got this idea that's going to be super profitable, you're going to be like, so?
Right.
Yep.
Like,
Yep.
how does it serve?
Yep. And you got to have the I gotcha, right? You got to have your backup and everything to back it up, but you got to get that message across fairly quickly too. And something that's going to grab their attention, that's not the fear factor and not the, financial factor. And
Yeah. Yeah, because I think
they're busy, right? Are they going to go to lunch with you? We hope.
well, and that leads to another thing. I mean, as a CISO, if I can't, there's a couple things now that I've been around a while, and you both of you have too. If you were to hire me as a CISO, not a vCISO, because that's different, but as a CISO, and I was going to report to the CIO, I wouldn't take the job.
Good call. I agree with you.
And I think my skills, and I think our skills, we shouldn't sell ourselves short as CISO candidates that I'm going to take the job because I'm desperate for it, or I'm going to take the job, no.
There's plenty. We keep hearing about the shortage.
Right.
Why are we
Plenty
selling
of jobs
ourselves?
out there. Yep. And that's just and too much of that security gets buried under the CIO, and then it's a battle,
Well, and we have competing interests.
right? A battle on who gets the attention, so to speak. And if one doesn't support the other, what's going to win out? The business is going to win out.
Well,
Yeah.
and I know that there are a lot, and I do have friends, who are CISOs who do report to CIOs. And I'm not saying quit your job. It all depends on how you have, whatever your working relationship is. But if you feel like you're not getting representation, and even beyond tolerance, I don't want tolerance from a CEO. I want endorsement.
Yep.
I want you to be in this battle with me, because as a CISO, I have two jobs, really. I mean, boil it down to the most simple. I consult the business on how to make good risk decisions, and then I implement those risk decisions to the best of my ability.
Yep.
And if I can't do that effectively, well, then I'm handcuffed. And if you're expecting me to make risk decisions, well, you better empower me to, and you better pay me like I should.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I would say, personally, I wouldn't even want like CFO or chief legal officer, that we've seen that. It would be like a CEO, president, or a COO, I think would be kind of the type of person that I would be wanting to go to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because, security should be, in my opinion, on the same foot as IT, as finance, as, legal. It's that important to the organization at this point.
When I wonder how many CISOs treat information security risk like it's the risk, as opposed to just another risk, right? CEOs have financial risk, reputational risk, regulatory risk, legal risk. I mean, there's just so many different risks you have to deal with as a CEO. So I don't want a daily stand-up meeting with the CEO. They've got plenty of other things to do. What I do want is maybe 15 minutes, 30 minutes a week, just to debrief you on what's going on and what we're working on and where we're going. Because I do see a lot of CISOs who take so much pride, and I'm not ripping on it. I think you take so much pride, you're so passionate about your job, that you forget that there's the CFO as well. They've got they got their risks they got to handle. Sales, they got their things. I'm just one of many, but I needed to be treated like I'm one of many, not buried.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that's a good point, Evan. I think a lot of times CISOs get tunnel vision. And I think it probably goes with CIOs too, because a lot of times very similar type people. But yeah, you focus so much on the security risk, you forget to weigh in on everything else. There's a reason. Joke that the board or the C-level reports are always just graphs and pretty pictures. Well, yeah, that's because they've got like 800 things going on, and if they can't grasp it in 30 seconds or a couple of minutes,
exactly,
move on.
Get the message across quick.
Yeah. So that's part of the relationship. So building a relationship, I think we all agree, with the CEO is very, very important. If you can do it on a personal level, even better. Find out what motivates them. And if you can't find it out, if you can't seem to get time with them, you can't get lunch or whatever, do some research. Ask other people. Ask, some of your peers. Ask the CFO. Ask the CIO. What motivates the CEO? What motivates him or her? So that I can speak that language. Because then I can position risk. I don't have to use fear anymore.
Right.
I can say, if I understand you're motivated by money, let me show you how information security can make us more money.
Yep.
And I'll start positioning that, and I'll start building my team like that. right? And the same, if you're motivated by ego, well, then let's do something newsworthy. Let's make it,
Right.
let's get it out
Right.
there. We're so awesome.
Yep.
And
Yep.
Yeah, but don't stop there, right? Don't stop at
Right.
the C level.
Oh,
What's the next
definitely.
level? What do you do after you've got that buy-in?
right.
Yep.
Yeah, I've said before as a CISO that I think a lot of times my job is to socially engineer the entire organization.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Figure out
I mean,
what motivates and then use that to get done what we need to get done.
yeah, I've told this story before, but I told my oldest a couple of years ago. She asked what I did, and I explained it. And she goes, "Oh, so you're like a teacher?" And yes, I mean,
Right.
at the end of the day, the reality of this job is educating people on risk.
Yeah.
How do you make a good risk decision? Okay,
Yeah,
great. Now I can go do it.
that's job one, man. Exactly.
Yep.
So, working with the heads of the different departments, the different business units, understanding how they work, because they're not going to be the same. So you can't go to sales the way you would go to HR, right?
Right.
So you got to understand and build those relationships with those different heads.
Understand what they see as risk,
Yeah, for sure. Their
and
perspective.
how does that align with what we do and the things that we can help them with.
Mhm. Yeah, I was thinking about creating something. See what you guys think. Like a management assessment, almost like a management inventory. So if you hire me as a CISO, I want to take an inventory of who I should build relationships with, right? You have the ones above, right? So if it's structured the way I would appreciate it being structured, like I report to the CEO, then laterally, who are my peers, right? Because I need to build relationships with them. These are my
Oh,
friends.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
And then, you know, below, you know, who, because you got to manage in all directions, and you got to maintain those relationships because you need them all.
You got to get champions, people that are going to champion the program with you and see their role in it to help champion that, and become peers, and understanding how they can help things
Yeah.
move along.
I've always said in any interview that I've had for like kind of a management role, they're like, "What do you envision the first 6 months?" And it's like, well, I'm going to learn the environment and get to know people. I'm not going to come in and just
Right.
rip and replace, because that's how you lose trust real quick.
Right.
If I don't understand how the business works, how the people work, I can't be successful.
Right.
Yeah, and I think before you
Cracks
take
me
the
up
job
on the
too.
contract jobs, right? There's contract managers, security manager jobs out there. How effective can you be in 6 months managing the program?
Yeah. Well,
Did that once, didn't work out very well.
no, I can imagine. Well, and we've been on this kick lately about how information security is relational. It's not transactional.
Right.
So I can't come in and just flip some switches and make your security better. I need to build a relationship with you. I need to be. We don't have to hang out after work, but at least at work we have to have this mutual respect and understanding and realize we're on the same team. Think of it like a football team, right?
Yeah.
Everybody's got to play their role if you want to win. If somebody's not playing their role, well then you're going to lose.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and then building that trust and relationship is very much part of our job too, right? Because I mean, how many of these, 5, 10 different companies you're working with,
mhm.
you have to understand how all of them work and build trust with your primary contact, and then help them make sure that they have trust within the organization.
Yep.
So it's almost an extra layer that we're having to put in there. But I mean, it's great experience.
Yep.
Yeah,
It works.
for sure. Well, and it's trust. I always thought that there were three things that make me good at my job, and I think it's three things we need to get to land customers. It's trust, credibility, and you need to like me. So if you can trust me, that goes great. I mean, it goes a long ways. Am I credible? Can I actually do the things you hired me to do? And am I not an asshole?
Right.
I mean, if we got those 3 things, I think that's a good recipe for success.
Yep.
Yeah.
I like it.
So, yeah.
And,
Go ahead, man.
I was gonna say, and I think another part of it is not necessarily having a relationship with all the employees, but being open and communicating with them, because when you do implement some of these changes, that it's not always very popular, right? So how do we come across and out there, hey, here's what we're doing, here's why we're doing it. If you have questions, let me know. And if they've never talked to you, they're gonna be like, who, what? And obviously that's not possible at every job, especially the larger ones, but just trying to get yourself known in the organization, building trust with everybody.
Right. And I think if you do the CISO job right, if the business is truly making risk decisions, then I don't look like the bad guy.
Right. You shouldn't.
Right.
You shouldn't be the bad guy. It's.
And it comes back to communicating and what the message is, right? I've worked with people that didn't have passwords set to expire ever. They had passwords that were 15 years old. Mm-hmm. Well, turning that on and enforcing complexity was not a popular decision.
Right.
And it was not well messaged. It was a good learning experience, but I assumed that, like you said, someone up higher up would have, warned them when they gave me the okay to do this. But oh well.
Yep.
Right. I got a piece of advice once from a Fortune 100 CISO who's a friend of mine. He said, communicate till your gums bleed. So don't stop communicating. Don't assume. Empty spaces always get filled. So if I've left a spot, empty space in my communications, it's going to get filled with something, and it's usually assumptions, and they're usually wrong. So when things don't go according to plan, 9 times out of 10, or maybe 10 times out of 10, I look in the mirror and I was the problem. I missed a communication step somewhere. I didn't inform somebody. Maybe I have a crappy relationship with somebody that I really need to shore up. A lot of that stuff. So,
oh, good.
No, I was just going to close out this part and then go into. I want to talk about this FBI email thing last week. I didn't do it. I would have liked to. That would have been fun, but I didn't do it.
Oh, I go ahead and close it up. I'm good.
Okay. Well, I think so. The advice for CISOs, whether you're a CISO, always look for opportunities, I think, where you can improve your communications. To the question, who should you build relationships with in the organization? Really, everybody that it takes to get things done, right? Certainly in the top, if I do report to a CIO, then the CIO almost has to become a partner to me. We almost have to speak as one, right? Because this is the person that's going to represent me to the board, represent me to other parts of the organization. So we have to be lockstep. CEO, for sure, if you are on that C-level, with your peers, the CFO, the COO, the C whatever, they're your friends that will have your back. And because sometimes you'll go to dad or mom, the CEO, and they'll say no or whatever. Or they're making a crappy risk decision. What do you do then? Well, go talk to your brothers and sisters. Hey, help me out here a minute. This is the reason why. Can you, maybe help me make a call? So those are good relationships. And then certainly building your team with the motivation for the CEO in mind. And then, obviously you want to have a great relationship with your team. They're the ones that are actually going to do the work. So love them.
Yeah.
Yep. Well said.
All right. Well, good. You heard about the FBI email hoax thing?
A little bit. I've been just.
I saw a little bit about it too. Not a lot, but
I haven't gone in depth. It was their external portal.
Yeah, it's called Leap.
Wasn't there anything?
So the last week, I think it was, what day was it? Maybe it was Friday-ish, I think. I started getting messages from friends saying, hey, this is really interesting. Check this out. I'm like, all right. So I looked, and I was up late that night. I originally saw it on, crap. I saw it somewhere else. But anyway, when you looked at the email headers, so these were emails, and essentially it was, I'm trying to find the text of the email again for you.
Yeah. So
It says our intelligence monitoring indicates exfiltration of several of your virtualized clusters in a sophisticated chain attack. We tried to black hole the transit nodes used by this advanced persistent threat actor. However, there's a huge chance he will modify his attack with whatever. Okay, so it goes on like that. Now, obviously, there's grammatical things right in it, but people don't read when they panic, so don't expect them to catch that.
well, and like you said, it's coming from they had legit headers, so
Totally
Right.
did. Yeah.
that makes it way more difficult to.
Catch and
Right. So because it came from eims@ic.fbi.gov, and it was, I don't know, 100,000 emails maybe
yeah.
going to sysadmins primarily.
Yeah.
So they're getting these emails going, oh my God, and it's like a Friday. So a lot of freak out going on, because then you check the email headers and it looks legit. Came from FBI.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Scary.
Yeah, so the FBI announced, after they did their investigation, they actually responded pretty quickly, but, by that time, sometimes the damage is already done.
Yeah.
And people are already a little bit jittery with some of the attacks going on in the federal government.
Right.
But it turns out it was the Law Enforcement Enterprise Portal, LEEP, which was used. Legitimate, and it was a software misconfiguration on that portal that allowed the attacker to get in and actually use that portal to send those emails.
Harden those systems. Get that baseline.
I mean, we know it's going to happen, right? You
Right.
you can't prevent it all.
Yeah,
But
it really is not a matter of when. It's not a matter of if. It's when. For everybody, I think at some point.
Well, and for people because what I don't want people to think is, well, if it happens to the federal government, it's going to happen to me, and so what's the use? Well, because the use is, this isn't about risk elimination. This is about risk management. So yes,
and the people going after.
So go ahead.
I was going to say, the people going after the federal government are not likely the same that be going after you. Right. So don't be the low hanging fruit. Do the basics.
For sure, man. And yes, and to answer that, the question, yes, it will happen to you. So what will your response be?
What's your plan?
Yeah, I mean, going back to bed isn't a good answer. Updating your resume might be a good answer, but that's probably not what you want to do either.
Right.
So it's interesting. And another thing I want to point out too is, if the federal, because we already knew this, if you use logic and think all this stuff through, if the federal government can't prevent all bad things from happening, what makes you think they're going to be able to do it for you?
Right.
Oh, yeah, I wouldn't expect them to from this perspective.
Right. So relying on CISA, relying on the Department of Homeland Security, relying on the FBI, relying on the Secret Service, relying on the NSA, relying on anybody else to secure your stuff other than yourself is a wrong choice.
Right.
Yeah, it's the same as physical security for your organization. What would you expect the government to physically secure it? No.
Right.
You can't.
When have you seen some? You've seen some of the government security scorecards, right? On cybersecurity.
Right.
Department of Justice, I think. D.
I used to do some of them. It's been a long time, but
God.
I often wonder how much they've improved.
Right. So anyway, I think that's the learning thing is, one, it's ironic that it's the FBI, one of the leading law enforcement organizations in our country, who missed a simple it's a software configuration error. We're human, right? I don't fault them for that. And I think they actually responded pretty quickly. So I don't fault them for that either. But
It's more reputational embarrassment more than anything.
Yeah,
Well, yeah, and they're a huge target. Everybody's going to be hammering on them, so
right.
um, it's
Yeah, so you can go, look it up. It's kind of an interesting attack. Now I have my suspicions on who's behind it, but I'm not going to mention it because
yeah.
I don't know. Maybe offline I'll share with you guys who I think it is, and then when and if they get caught, we can see if I was right.
There you go.
Because, like I said, people were bugging me up. I don't know why people were bugging me so much about this one this time, but I had like messages, and I normally don't care. Really, I mean, I'm busy as
Right.
hell, man. I don't have time. I didn't get the email, and obviously you guys didn't either, huh?
Nope. Nope.
Okay. So,
Huh.
Lori,
Crazy.
we don't have you often, and I love seeing you here. It's been a long time. Give the listeners some advice.
Give some advice. I kind of one of my favorite ones is figure out what your blocking and tackling is, right? I mean, when you don't have a program, you're just getting started. What are the main blocking and tackling things that you got to do to secure yourself? Look at your perimeter. What do you got there to protect yourself from these, the attacks and the hacks? Get management on board with you. Get champions. Really understand the culture and figure out what kind of program is going to fit to help manage risk, right? What are those risks? What are the big business risks? How do we align our program to, align with those business? That's kind of the big thing, right? The other stuff fill in. I think that's the biggest thing. It's not always technical. Technology helps the program, supports the program. Policies help the program, support the program. It's getting that direction, that baseline of how we're going to move forward with the program.
I love it.
Yep, and I would say even from a career standpoint, going into cybersecurity, don't think you got to know it all. None of us know it all, right? We've got experts in all, on all phases of the technology side. We've got experts in all phases of the governance side and the consulting side. Find your passion and go after it.
Awesome. Good.
Mine's just working with clients. I've done the rest of it. I just like going out and helping people that need help. That's my passion.
Yeah, that's cool. Sage advice. I appreciate it.
Sure.
It's good stuff. Brad, you got anything?
Oh,
Closing advice?
No.
Take
I
your
was just
blood
gonna say
pressure
happy 3 years.
medication. That's what mine is.
What's that?
My advice is take your blood pressure medication.
There you go. Yeah, find your work-life balance.
that's a
And
big one. I will just even add on to that. I've been in this field for 35 years. I burnt myself out many years ago, raising my kids, trying to do it all, traveling, speaking, in committees, and find your work-life balance. You can get lost in this industry as well, trying to fix the industry. So definitely, sorry, I stepped on your time, but I just wanted to add that.
No,
Oh, I
you're
agree.
the guest.
Yeah.
Shout outs.
I was just gonna say happy 3-year anniversary of the podcast, Evan.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, congrats. I think this should be the exact one we figured out, because you figure 52 weeks a year, it's 156.
Yeah,
High five to that.
that's crazy, man. It's been a fun ride. And, listeners have heard me say it before. I mean, the reason why we started the podcast was I just wanted to spend an hour a week with you. And so from that perspective, it's way exceeded my expectations. I feel like we've got a good friendship and relationship, and I love it, man. Love you, so that's awesome.
Yeah. Miss seeing you guys. Gosh, I moved out of town, but I was in the office a week or so ago, though. It was kind of cool.
You have to tell me when you're in the office so I can come in.
I think I'm here in a couple weeks. I may be, and I'll let you know.
We have to get you guys down to Mexico.
Ah, absolutely.
All right,
Very
shout outs,
cool.
Brad.
My kids this week. It's been a long week, so
Yeah.
they've done an amazing job, and stepped up and helped out. So even though they don't listen.
So,
Yep.
how about you, Laura? You got any shout outs?
One of them is probably my daughter. She's a nurse practitioner in a hospital in the cities here, and she's, just really stressed out with everything going on. And she's in trauma, so she's not dealing with a lot of COVID. She's dealing with the people that aren't getting care in time. So I've been hearing from her regularly. She needs an outlet, and so shout out to her. She's doing a great job.
Cool. Very cool. I'm going to give a shout out to my dog, Violet.
Still sleeping.
Yeah, and she's super loyal, man. It's there are days when you just get tired of dealing with people. You get tired of dealing with drama. You get tired of dealing with bias. You get tired of dealing with whatever the hell else people seem to bring all the time. It's not that I don't love people. I do genuinely love people. I don't necessarily like people. And there's a big difference. Now, my dog,
get it.
I love her and I like her, and she seems to reciprocate. So, shout out to her.
Yep.
All right.
Touche.
Well, we'll see you guys, or actually, listeners will see us next week.
Yeah, you guys have a good Thanksgiving if I don't talk to you before.